New Orleans Saints offensive coordinator Klint Kubiak on Erik McCoy's return and Trevor Penning's development. Here we are with Klint Kubiak in front of the camera once again on Airline Drive ahead of the Cleveland Browns versus New Orleans Saints matchup this Sunday. The Saints offense pretty close to healthy besides Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, obviously, but Erik McCoy's likely return. Derek Carr came back against the Panthers. Alvin Kamara is dominant as always. So we're getting close. We're getting kind of close to the offense that we were promised. Obviously having Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave out is, a huge negative. But it is better than what we were looking at in the Denver game and in the Bucs game. So Kubiak's got to be feeling pretty good. And the offense has been okay. Like if you look at the yards per play, they have ticked up every single week. Against the Chargers, I believe they were like 5.4. Against the Panthers, they were like 5.8. And then last week against the Falcons, they were 7.0. So the offense has been relatively decent. They've had some moments. They've had some horrific moments and some bad decision making and all that things. But compared to what we saw against Denver, the offense does feel a little bit better. So let's go ahead and listen to what Kubiak's got to say and how he's feeling about the offense heading into the Browns game.
What y'all like about Kevin Austin's practice week last week that earned kind of the shot on Ross, and what did you see from the game day?
Yeah, I think you could watch him going back to training camp. He had a really good training camp, and he's been working his tail off, in the shadows and waiting for an opportunity and made the most of it. Thought he did a good job in the game.
What does that mean?
I can't even imagine how far Kevin Austin was in the shadows. I didn't even know who he was. I didn't even know when he was catching passes in the game. I was looking around like, who is this guy? Who is Austin? Is it Calvin Austin? Is it Kevin Austin? Is it Miles Austin? Who is this guy? So is it Stone Cold Steve Austin? I knew it wasn't Stone Cold Steve Austin. But, I mean, you talk about there's the shadows, and then there was where Kevin Austin was doing his work.
I mean, when you say work, like what is he doing on the practice squad that you identify as like, okay, he's definitely...
Yeah, when he's running cards for the defense, he's winning his one-on-one matchups. He's staying locked into our offensive meetings, even though he's not active on those game days prior, and just being a professional.
Finally getting Marcos getting on the field and seeing him get that over-the-top element back here, how much did you think that really opened the offense back up to what it was the first 2 years?
Yeah, that was a big time to have him step up like that. Made some really good plays for us, really blocked well in the running game. A guy that wasn't here very long, a couple of weeks, and integrated himself with the guys and worked slowly to get into the lineup and made the most of an opportunity.
This isn't anything. This is going to sound negative to Rashid Shaheed, and it's not supposed to be. But when Marquez Valdes-Scantling was doing his thing, all I could think of was he's doing what Rashid Shaheed did. Like 3 catches, 100-something yards, take the top off the defense. The fast guy that Carr could throw it to. That's what Shaheed was. And so when we had questions about, like, is Shaheed a true number 2? And I was a little hesitant on that he's more of just a burner. Contested catches were horrible. Anything that wasn't just wide open, beating the safety, Carr drops it in, was basically a drop for Shaheed. And it looks like Valdes-Scantling could at least physically do the route tree or however you want to phrase it that Shaheed was doing. Now, Olave is a whole different thing, because I believe Olave is as close to a 1 as you can get. I believe Olave is the real deal. I believe he is a true. You're comfortable saying he is your number 1. There's no one that's going to replace him. We need him to get back ASAP like Rocky. Okay, but as far as the Rashid Shaheed situation, I'm pretty okay with MVS kind of taking over that role.
For this scheme, what's kind of the history of, like, how did you guys land on the center handling protections rather than the quarterback? Like, was it something your dad did, or was that like something he learned? Like, how did you guys kind of arrive at that?
You probably got to ask some of the old heads, but I think we definitely rely very heavily on the centers, and really Carr doesn't get enough credit because there's been a lot of games where he's made some big time calls to the line of scrimmage. There was one. There's a 3rd down in the last game that he did a great job at the line of scrimmage. So both those guys are involved in it. But as far as going back, I think it's probably a longer story.
The abridged version.
It's one of the most no answers I've ever heard in my entire life.
You
Yeah.
have one.
No, not right now.
What does make Erik really special? Or what traits does he have?
I'll talk to you after. Say again.
I mean, unbelievable. I mean, this is a straight up he's got the secrets. I mean, this is the most lock-in key secret I've ever heard. So the question was, if you were lost in all that, the question was, what is it behind Erik McCoy or the center calling the protection versus the quarterback? Why do you do that? And Klint basically was like, I'm not going to tell you, but I will tell you after. I'm not going to tell you right now. So, I mean, put that up there with some of the biggest mysteries of all time.
What makes Erik really special, and what traits of his are rare among centers you've worked with?
Well, with any position, I think he's a leader. He's intelligent. He works his tail off. Obviously, very talented. He's a really strong individual. He's quick, and when you're a center and you're in our scheme, and you can be up first guy off the ball, and you can reach defensive linemen. I think that's just a big strength of his. And then his intelligence allows him, allows him to get us into a lot of the right calls. He makes quick calls. He's a stud. He's a really good player. I'm glad to have him back. He hasn't played in a while, so he's got to work his way back into it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing you notice with McCoy going out is that the offensive line just looked very discombobulated. They just looked like it's not so much that they couldn't pass block, they couldn't run block. It's not so much that, it's that they just didn't seem like they were in the right places at the right time. It looked like they were all kind of on their own islands, and in a scheme like this where these like zone runs and some of the stuff that we're doing, it's more about moving as a unit or the structure of what you're doing versus like individual performances. I'm way more concerned about the totality of the line, the totality of the play, and the design. I'm more concerned about that than like Trevor Penning's PFF grade on passing downs or whatever. So having McCoy to kind of solidify that and kind of be the one who tells the line, okay, this is what we're doing, this is where you need to be, here's the protection, whatever. You could tell in the first couple of games, and I think you'll see if he plays Sunday, I think you'll see in this game and moving forward, like much more cohesion of what the line is doing and how they're moving. We all remember the Dallas game where it just seemed like when we were any kind of a run play, it just seemed like there was nothing Dallas could do, where our blockers were just free to block, and they were attacking the right people, and they were making the blocks that, it's like one or two blocks, boom, all of a sudden the run is sprung. I think we'll see a lot more of that.
Rizzi was saying that he thought last week was Penning's best game, maybe as a professional. How have you seen him progress from training camp week one to now?
Yeah, I've just seen a guy that's put his head down, has gone to work, and in his short career, he's had some ups and downs, but I've seen consistency in his play, and that comes from he's been available for every practice, and he just keeps stacking days and improving and taking coaching from Benton and Rico, and just see a guy whose confidence is growing.
Trevor Penning, no doubt about it, he fits this system better. There's no doubt about it. He is better this year than he has been in the past. Good news for Saints fans is how we talked about last year, where we need Trevor to just exist. Last year was so bad that he was a negative on the play. We just need him to be a net neutral. He's showing that he can be net neutral. He can just be a neutral player, and at times he can be a good player. So credit to the system, credit to them kind of playing to his strengths and all of that. And they do a good job with him for sure. So kudos to Trevor. Kudos to Trevor, more just mentally taking the beating from the fans and Twitter and the analysts, and seeing all the stuff nonstop about your performance, and being able to go to work and be able to put in the effort and try and get better and turn in what so far I would say has been a pretty good season for any offensive lineman, much less someone who at times was thought of as being like a danger to his own team. So yeah, Trevor's been good. Shout out to Trevor for his performance this year, for sure.
The confidence was like a big part of the story with him this offseason. Have you seen that grow? Like with as he's kind of stacked the performances and the days and whatnot?
Yeah, no, I have. I've seen it grow, and I've seen just seen that whole group. You know, there's been a lot of guys in and out of the lineup, and he's been between him and Tally. Those guys have been some stalwarts for us throughout the season, and but there's a lot of confidence in that. You get more snaps in the game, and you execute, and your confidence will grow. So, you know, I think there's still a lot of room to grow, and Trevor is going to work his tail off to get to where he wants to get. So we've been happy with his performance thus far.
You had said before the season started, if anybody did deserve to have a good year, it would be Trevor. So how gratifying is it to see him step up and excel?
Yeah, I mean.
Question from the guy that was, I guess he was 2 or 3 streets over, just screaming into the void, and that question slowly rode the wind or whatever and got to Kubiak. I'm not sure what happened there, but the question was that before the season, Klint Kubiak said no one deserved a good year more than Trevor. So how does it feel to actually see Trevor having some of those, having some of the positivity? One thing I will say though, like it was against the Falcons. The Falcons' pass rush is non-existent. Falcons' defense is ass. Just like I saw on Twitter, someone was like, look, Bryce Young's been pretty good the last couple of weeks. Maybe he's getting better. So yeah, okay, maybe, or he played the Saints defense and the Giants defense. Like, and that's the danger of a knee-jerk reaction league where every play is graded and every game is graded. Where if you look at this and you say, well, Trevor Penning had a 91.4 PFF grade. It was the number 1 graded game for right tackles in the NFL. It's like, okay, well, only one right tackle in the NFL played the Atlanta Falcons. So again, I think you do have to cross-reference some data points like that. If you go back and look at all of the Atlanta Falcons games and you see, wow, the right tackle is average grade is an 87, and the rest of the NFL, whatever, is like a 71, then to me, that's more of an indictment on the Falcons than it is a positive on Penning. Sure, it should be celebrated that Penning is existing, but same with Bryce Young. I'm not ready to say Bryce Young has gotten better all of a sudden. You don't get better all of a sudden in 2 games over your entire career. Remember, when Bryce Young played the Saints, that was only the second time in his entire NFL career that he has had an EPA, a positive EPA. All right, second time ever. So you're telling me that all of a sudden, boom, Bryce Young is now efficient? Or does it show you just how porous the Saints defense and the Giants defense are? I tend, on those small sample sizes, to say it's more than likely the variable, which is the opponent. More than likely, Trevor Penning's uptick in PFF grade is due to the variable, which in this case is the Giants. Now, if he strings a couple of those together, if he has a 10-game, 15-game chunk or a season or 2 seasons or whatever, then now we can start to, it's less of a small data point. It's more of like a consistent thing. So be careful when you hear, about those numbers or those really specific things. You want to be careful with that.
I mean, that's what it's all about. I think he's a good example to all the guys that you just don't read your Twitter. Don't spend too much time worried about the outside. You just control what you can control and focus on your performance. And I know for a fact.
Correct. Don't read your Twitter. Read my Twitter. If you're not following the Twitter page, what are you doing? Get involved, get in there. It's the easiest way to access everything I've got going on. Stream of thoughts, especially when I'm at the game. When I'm at the game, I'm tweeting, I'm live tweeting. So make sure you're following. If you're not at this point, come on. What are we doing here, ladies and gentlemen?
Trevor doesn't think.
Oh, and of course, Instagram as well. Bada bing, bada boom. Realest guy in the room.
He's arrived, and he's going to just, as long as he has that mindset, and all of our guys do, then they'll all keep getting better.
How do you think Cleveland's defensive line ranks, against some of the others that you've seen this year, and what kind of problems do you think they pose for y'all this weekend?
They're bad. But bottom line, they're at their absolute highest level. They're average. At their normal level, they're bad. So there you go.
I mean, I wouldn't rank them. I just know they're a dang good scheme, dang good group of players. Probably, we know we're playing 95 is best defensive end in the game. So we got our hands full with these guys. They're a good team.
They're a horrible team. They are a horrific team. They are maybe one of the worst teams.
When you have a team like the Falcons kind of playing the safeties down the way they were early in that game, how important is it to call those shot plays and force them to keep things honest over the top in terms of running the rest of your offense?
Yeah, I think we've had plenty of those calls before, and then sometimes the defense dictates a check down, and I thought you know, Derek Carr did a great job of recognizing coverage and getting us into the right play. You know, we had plenty of opportunities in that game to kind of have a couple plays at the line of scrimmage, and he did a great job of running the show for us. Thank you.
All right, I mean, it's kind of crazy, the whole Myles Garrett thing. Like apparently he's got chronic foot problems. Like, he's supposed to have surgery on both of his feet after the season. He's got like chronic foot pain. Pretty crazy stuff. I mean, Myles Garrett is, you know, real deal. Like, in his career, he has been the real deal, no doubt about that. So he's a stud and a half. But Cleveland is garbage. Their defense is terrible. Offense is terrible. So yeah, hopefully we can continue the hot streak, get 2 in a row, and we can feel real good come Sunday. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments below what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.